here, manufacturing, civil aviation, local authorities, you are welcome. And members of the Fourth Estate, our media, you are also recognized. We welcome you to this breakfast meeting being hosted by the Chief Executive of Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe, and of course being part and parcel of our last day program, the Radiation Safety Conference, which have been running under the theme strengthening the radiation protection, safety of workers, public and the environment. And also, you are aware the Radiation Protection of Authority of Zimbabwe is celebrating over a decade of accomplishments and future endeavors. Like I indicated, this is the third and last day of our program, and the leadership and, of the authority have seen it fit to set aside some time to have you, captains of the industry. Some you have been with us for the past 2 days, but some, because of your busy schedule, you could not make it, but we have accommodated you early this morning during breakfast so that we discuss various issues which affect our industry. Like the Honorable Minister of Energy and Power Development highlighted in his speech yesterday, he encouraged the regulatory body to open up and to suggestions and input from various players of the industry. He also emphasized to the stakeholders that it is the duty of the government of Zimbabwe, through the implementing agency, of course, Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe, to protect each and every one of the Zimbabwean citizens and the environment from the harmful effects of radiation. He mentioned as well the ongoing Radiation Protection Act review, and currently there is a bill which will be posted on the website of the authority for your input, stakeholders. So make sure that your suggestions, your contributions are submitted during this platform. Should you have areas where you feel the authority may need to improve on, should you have the authority, the areas which you feel the authority may need to maintain because it's a good practice, or any other suggestions which will make sure that the authority implements its mandate of protecting the people and the environment from the harmful effects of radiation, well, please feel free to do so during this session. Please, those were my welcoming remarks. Feel free to make your contributions. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mazuru. Now, I come from Manika land, Kunonzi Kunyanyadzi. And when I walked into the room, judging by the energy, I knew I was the only one from Manika land. Nekuti kwedu tine maomberero atinoita maoko. Tine masumudziro atinoita vanhu kana vachisumuka. There's a level of energy that we have in Manika land that I've not seen in the room. But convince me otherwise if you are from that part of Zimbabwe. Thank you very much, sir. And as we continue with this high-level breakfast meeting that has been made possible by RPA Zeta CEO, Mr. Justice Chipuru, allow me now, ladies and gentlemen, to invite to the podium a representative from Zimbabwe Platinum Mines, S. Goto. Please put your hands together as he comes forward.
Thank you very much to the MC. I think before I start the formalities, let me first of all start off by passing apologies from Dr. Segula, our Managing Director. You would have wanted to be with us, but unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond his control, he can't be with us. As indicated, my name is Sembarashe Goto. I'm the Senior General Manager responsible for mining. And I've been given the task of perhaps sharing a few brief remarks this morning. To the RPAZ board members, the RPAZ CEO, leadership of different state entities, captains of industry, and maybe I should say all protocol observed so that I don't leave anyone out. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure for me to be with you this morning. Radiation safety is a key focus area for our operations given the wide use of radiation sources for measuring density in construction activities, operating plants, medical diagnosis using X-ray devices, as well as X-ray based metallurgical and geological analysis. We have developed a comprehensive radiation safety manual and plan that embraces the hierarchy of controls to prevent and mitigate against exposure, ensure zero radiation incidents, while at the same time protecting the general public and environment from harmful exposure to radiation. Again, we have formulated a radiation emergency management plan that covers preparedness, response, and recovery activities in the unlikely event of an incident. Our vision for safety and occupational health is sustainable zero harm. This aspiration aligns with the NASA and ILO Vision Zero concept. At Zimplats, we believe the zero harm is possible, and this holds true with respect to the use of ionizing radiation sources in our facilities. Our approach to radiation is self-regulation, complemented by government regulation. In this regard, Zimplats takes a very proactive approach to preventing the harm of its employees and public as espoused by the business management system policy commitments. Zimplats was the first operation in Zimbabwe to conduct self-assessment to naturally occurring radiation materials way before promulgation of the norm regulations in the country. This is a testament to our desire to implement best practices and attain safety leadership in radiation matters. We've included the management of radiation risk in our ISO certified business management system. This system integrates ISO 9001 being the quality management system, ISO 14001 being the environmental management system, and ISO 45001, the occupational health and safety management system. Going forward, as a learning organization, we will continue to collaborate with the regulator on radiation issues to promote continued compliance to the current and future radiation statutes. We are fully committed to complying with the Radiation Act and its subordinate regulations, and that were enacted to ensure radiation safety. I wish you fruitful deliberations and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Allow me to take back my words. I think there are a few more from Manika Land. I'm convinced now. Thank you very much. We are live streaming on the ZTN Facebook page, the premier television station in Zimbabwe and beyond. That is channel 294. And please do make sure you go through those stations for some informative, educative, and entertaining content on ZTN. I am Linda Muriro once again. Some insightful words there from the representative, the senior general manager responsible for mining at Zimplats, Mr. Simbarashe Goto, talking about radiation emergency plan and how Zimplats has been able to lead the pack in coming up with self-regulation and self-assessment mechanisms. Now, as we move forward, allow me to invite now to the podium Mrs. Chinamasa. She is from the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, and she is going to give us some remarks. Please put your hands together as she comes forward.
Allow me to write on the protocols already established, and a very good morning to you all. It is an honor to be part of this auspicious event which seeks to reflect and celebrate the role of the Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe within the Zimbabwe and in ensuring delivery of the SDG and the Vision 2030. We at the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority value and acknowledge Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe is a critical and indispensable partner in discharging our mandate of protecting the civil society and facilitating legitimate trade and travel. Our partnership with Radiation Protection Association of Zimbabwe, Authority of Zimbabwe, dates back to 2012, where we signed a memorandum of understanding in relation to import and export of radiation sources and establishment of clear guidelines as actors on actions taken by the respective parties. ZIMRA participates in the Integrated Nuclear Security Support Plan as a member of the National Nuclear Security Committee. So what have we achieved so far with this partnership? Our partnership with Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe has so far yielded positive developments which include capacity building in safe use of radiation sources, such as mobile and baggage scanners at ports of entry during the facilitation of trade and travel and protection of civil society. We have also ensured that there is facilitation of licensing of radiation sources in the development of regulations pertaining to the safe use of radiation and radioactive materials. There's also a comprehensive information sharing and knowledge of applicable national and international radiation regulations and standards. And we also collaborate on disposal of radiation sources, such as the decommissioning of scanners done according to Radiation Protection Authority guidelines. And we have also managed to identify the International Atomic Energy Agency safety requirements and security series relevant to the responding to imaging triggers by nuclear security events. So, in terms of our partnership going forward, we wish to enhance coordination and integration of emergencies triggered by nuclear security and radiological events within overall emergency preparedness and response. Capacitation to detect and respond to incidents of nuclear or radioactive materials out of regulatory control, to identify physical, human, financial, and technological resources needed at ZIMRA strategic ports of entry as we control the movement of goods into and outside the country, and raise awareness and discuss challenges on coordinating of response to emergencies and highlight aspects related to nuclear security within the context of the General Safety Requirements Part 7, which are the International Atomic Energy Agency safety standards to protect people and the environment. On the challenges side, I think one of the issues is the nuclear security remains a real security threat at all ports of entry if relevant infrastructure and architecture are not implemented to detect and deter nuclear activities and transportation outside regulatory control. And also lack of nuclear and radioactive material detection equipment exposes ZIMRA officers to high-risk exposure to radiation. And also issues around limited nuclear security knowledge management for prevention, detection, and responses. It also exposes ZIMRA frontline officers and the country at large who will be at risk. As a way forward, we seek to incorporate nuclear and radiation security aspect in ZIMRA's training needs so that ZIMRA employees working at the ports of entry receive the necessary nuclear security training to minimize misconceptions about nuclear safety issues, and also increase collaboration between ZIMRA and Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe will be the major driver in ensuring that we attain the country's developmental goals as espoused in NDS-1. I thank you.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the ZIMRA Commissioner General, Ms. Regina Chinamasa, one of Zimbabwe's trailblazing women with a number of accolades to her name. She has been named among top directors in the country, among a host of other awards. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your remarks. Allow me now at this juncture to invite an oncologist as we get remarks from that sector of oncology. And I was listening to the Honorable Minister as he was giving his keynote address during the official opening of the conference yesterday, talking about Zimbabwe has about 852 radiation centers, and about 5% of that, if I'm not mistaken, belongs to the medical field. So we are going to be inviting someone from oncology. Please put your hands together in the Manika Land way as we welcome Dr. Pakiri to come and give us some words. Thank you. Dr. Pakiri? All right. I'm sure they're around somewhere. We will then move on to our next speaker, and we'll allocate Dr. Pakiri their time when they come back. Maybe possibly they are getting their breakfast. So please get your breakfast if you haven't had anything to eat. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to invite Dr. Hove, who is a radiologist from the Diagnostic Radiology Center. Please put your hands together as he comes forward.
Thank you very much and welcome. It's an unusual event, something that should have been done regularly. I speak now after ZIMRA Chief Executive has spoken. I was also in your organization and trained some of your powerful inspectors and commissioners. And now I'm a doctor. And why did I leave your profession? I'll talk to you about that later on. Now I've been asked, and when I stand here, it is an honor really, and I should say our society appreciates the hard work that rappers is doing, particularly in the era of the post-truth, where anything posted, one can believe it's the truth, without verification. Any center can be radioactive or non-radioactive, but without proof from rappers, it won't work. We are also in the era of quick fixes, where as a doctor, I can prescribe a pill for all of you to start laughing within a few minutes. I have got one to make you feel asleep for 2 weeks, and so forth and so forth. But these are quick solutions to the current problem the country is faced with. And again, rappers would be called on to find out whether these are quick solutions or permanent solutions. Ours is a noble profession, and you know it's ordained from above, unlike all of yours, including that of Zebra. Our rule really, in conjunction with what rappers doing, is to make sure that you are all protected health-wise, and you also pay attention to the environment and what it contains. Here today you are having the time to listen to me without having paid the cash or upfront or invoked your medical aid for free. So we must praise the rappers for what they've done. Yes. We must, as you can see, we must diagnose and then treat. And then diagnosis using radiation, ionizing radiation. The equipment that we use must have quality assurance programs, must be verified by rappers to make sure that we together deliver a safe dose to our population. And then once we have made a critical diagnosis, let me pause there, because quite often you don't really understand what our main mission as doctors will be. The important thing is for us to prevent significant disease. And you realize nowadays you are called to come on awareness programs where screening exercises are being done. This is to pick up disease before the preclinical stage. And when you pick it up like that, it's so early and the treatment will be very effective and will protect everybody, the family, yourself. The country is protected by making sure that it's a disease-free environment. Once the treatment has gone underway, we are then taking away quite a lot of pain in the population as our number 2 mandate. And all of life really is about pain management. And I'm sure frustrations, depressions, losses that you are encountering are also a effect of pain. And everybody ultimately has to come to the doctor to make sure they are pain-free. And the last but important of all is for us to postpone death when it is absolutely necessary to do so. Because even what we have done, ultimately, even the doctors also have time to go. So we want the encouragement that comes from our regulator to make sure those fundamentals are really monitored, and we together as a nation produce a disease-free through early diagnosis and appropriate therapeutic interventions which the onco department will be undertaking. I thought Dr. Pakiri was going to talk on the impact oncology is having, realizing that we are told that the cancer burden is increasing and we're not sure what is happening, and we want to call on rappers to make sure that is it not from radiation effects, from the mines, from the water we drink, from the food we eat. They have got a lot of work to do to help the doctors. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, for Dr. Hove. He says he's God ordained. Well, who am I to argue with that? And he was talking about pain management. I hope you've got some pain management remedies for supporters of Everton, Bournemouth, and the likes. So if you are a supporter of any of those teams, please do make sure that you see Dr. Hove. And for those who've just joined us, welcome to this high-level breakfast meeting that is happening on the sidelines of the Radiation Safety Conference being hosted by the Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe. And allow me to pass some salutations at this juncture. Delegates from the OPC, the RPAZ board members, captains of industry from the various sectors here present, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we've had from the ZIMRA Commissioner General, we've had from Dr. Hove, and after the keynote speech, we are going to get into a question and answer session. So do take note of questions that you have for our speakers or any other of the delegates that are in here. It seems Dr. Pakiri is not yet back, so allow me now to invite from the Research Council of Zimbabwe, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Nyemba. So we'll have Dr. Pakiri after Dr. Nyemba. Kumanika Land. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mamukasei. Donzi, Mr. Chinyemba. I'm representing my executive director, Dr. Marango, from the Research Council of Zimbabwe. And I do hope Dr. Hove has some pain medication because he's still a supporter of Manchester United. The director in the office of the President and Cabinet, the chairman of the Radiation Agency Authority Board, Ms. Anna Mary Nyakabau, the Director in the Office of the President and Cabinet and Radiation Protection Authority, Board Member, Mr. Nelson Charumbira, the CEO of Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe, Mr. Chipuru, CEO and heads of organizations representing different government and private institutions, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to begin by appreciating the opportunity to address this meeting of honored guests. It is the Research Council of Zimbabwe's fervent hope that stakeholders in the nuclear and radiation sector will continue to meet like this for the progression of the sector. As a young sector in Zimbabwe that is speedily growing, it is important for leaders to meet regularly and set foundations that will usher the sector into becoming a real world reference for excellence and innovation. The Research Council of Zimbabwe is highly interested in the increase of research and innovation in the nuclear science, as the sector is, at this time, largely dependent on important technology for activities. Council look forward to supporting the growth of nuclear science research in this country, which would lead to the mainstreaming and origination of our own nuclear technology. Another greater concern of Council is radiation safety. It was, to an extent, a relief to hear grumbles in yesterday's session concerning the Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe surprise radiation safety inspections. When it was mentioned that the sector are suffering greatly from surprise inspections, we were greatly satisfied, because that's what regulators should do, and you should not apologize for that. As the apex body of research with the mandate to ensure safety in research and development, we are confident that in this sector, safety is assured. On behalf of the Research Council, I want to encourage the continued exploration of nuclear science through research and innovation. By working with like research apex bodies within the region and beyond, RCZ has realized that in growing sectors such as our own, research collaborations that are bilateral in nature or even trilateral are significant for research and development. May all parties here with interest in research consider this approach for skills and capacity building. In research collaborations, also foster scientific breakthrough by cumulative innovation. It is when knowledge is reused, recombined, and accumulated that innovation strikes. Though many risks to intellectual property rights are present in such an approach, the benefits of this approach can be attained by exercising prudent IP rights strategies at organization and individual level. Therefore, let us collaborate and innovate. Let us walk journeys of nuclear science discovery that will answer to our health, agriculture, mining, and energy needs. As we all know, these are key socio-economic sectors in our country. I want to conclude by commending the Radiation Protection Authority for the work done in the conference, for bringing minds together to address nuclear science and radiation, as well as safety issues. Ladies and gentlemen, for research and innovation in nuclear science to grow, let us remember to discover, but being safe. Let us also remember that IP rights are crucial to the rewarding of research, and Research Council of Zimbabwe is ready to support and advise on any IP rights management issues. I also want to remind the House that no matter how good you are, you cannot be that good. To be in middle income, I heard someone say economy yesterday. No, it's not economy. It's society by 2030. Thank you.
Mr. Nyemba, thank you very much. Before you came to the podium, Dr. Hove was talking about all things God ordained. Before that, we had a very powerful prayer from Mr. Charumbira. But then when I called you, doctor, you then corrected and you said, Mister. You were just supposed to believe and receive the prophecy. As I'm also God ordained. Thank you very much, sir, for those remarks and explaining the role that the Research Council of Zimbabwe plays around radiation issues. Dr. Pakiri is now back in the room. Allow me now not to waste much time as I invite him to come forward to the podium. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, CEOs, leaders, captains of industry, dignitaries, all protocols observed. It's with great pleasure that I introduce myself. The schedule says remarks and perspectives from an oncologist. I am not an oncologist, I'm a radiologist. And a lot of people always ask, so what is a radiologist? The name says it all. We don't fix radios. We are actually specialists who are as specialized and trained as surgeons, gynecologists, pediatricians, but we tend to sit in the background. Radiologists work with radiation. So this is a very, very important podium that I'm given to say a few things about radiation, about as God ordained, radiation comes from God. It's our job as human beings to, excuse me, manage it. Can I get some water? Manage it, use it for betterment, and use it for health-giving techniques. That's what radiologists do. I'm here standing on behalf of the oncologists under the aegis of OncoCare. Some of you may know it, some of you may not know it. OncoCare is a radiation delivery facility in Zimbabwe. It's the only one of its kind. Today, for the last 2 or 3 years, it's been serving patients and people of Zimbabwe and the region as the government tries to get all its radiation equipment working again. So we feel very privileged to be able to deliver radiation therapy. This committee or this meeting is about how does the Radiation Protection Authority make sure that what practitioners are doing is safe. We at OncoCare, and because we have linear accelerators that deliver very high doses of radiation, have made it a clear mandate from the beginning, from 2017 when we first inaugurated, that it's more important to do no harm. It's part of our Hippocratic oath as doctors, do no harm. So we've spent a lot of time, money, energy, and talent in making sure that we have physicists, dosimetrists, oncologists, and radiotherapy radiographers working with us, not only for the private sector. This is an endeavor that's national. And I'm very, very pleased that I've been given the chance to meet with Mr. Chipuru, CEO of the Radiation Protection Authority. We work very closely with Dr. Anna Nyakabao, who's the chairperson of the Radiation Protection Authority. The key point is that we couldn't do this alone. And the key point is what the gentleman before me said, it's all about collaboration. If we collaborate between industry, between medicine, between science, between society, and indeed between the government of the nation and the region, we will be able to deliver God-healing therapy to the people of Zimbabwe and the region. And it's very passionate for us. We believe, and we've seen it, maybe a little bit of fact. Radiation therapy, 1 in 2, that's 50% of anybody who gets cancer anywhere in the world will go for radiation. You need to know that. So, and cancer's on the rise. The non-communicable diseases are abounding, and more people are succumbing to cancer. Cancer is treatable. Cancer is curable. It's where the radiologist and the oncologist meet to be able to screen patients, catch cancer early, and treat it. And that saves the mothers, the daughters, the wives. I'm talking about breast cancer, which is very topical last month. We can do it. We are not doing very well in Zimbabwe, but through collaboration, innovation, and commitment, I believe that we can be a shining star in the region, and as we are in so many different ways. So I think that's all I want to say, but it's really very important for me to again thank RAPAS We work very closely with rappers, and I know, and I take it as an accolade for us at OncoCare, that rappers has been approached by regional authorities to be a leading star in how to regulate radiation oncology services. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pakiri, for those remarks, and a word of hope that cancer is curable. And you were talking about it being one of the highlights last month, which was Cancer Awareness Month. And I'm happy that RPAZ partnered Zim Papers, Zimbabwe's largest diversified media house, in its Cancer Power Walk, which is a brainchild of the organization's CEO, Mr. Pikirai Deketeke. So thank you very much, RPAZ, and thank you very much, Dr. Pakiri, for those remarks. We are having this high-level breakfast meeting that has brought together captains of industries from different sectors, which is happening on the sidelines of the radiation safety conference that kicked off on Wednesday and ends today. The official opening was yesterday by the Honorable Minister, Edgar Moyo, and we had a ceremony in the evening where a colleague of mine, Nikki, was in charge of that. Allow me now, ladies and gentlemen, to invite now to the podium the CEO of RPAZ, Mr. Chipuru. Please put your hands together as he comes forward.
Thank you, Linda, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me recognize the presence in our midst of the Acting Secretary for Energy and Power Development, Colonel Retired Zinganyama, representatives from the Office of the President and Cabinet, led by Director Evaluation and Learning, Ms. Makuire, Directors of the Radiation Protection Authority Board, Commissioner General of the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, Ms. Chinamasa, captains of industry, management and staff of the authority. It's indeed a pleasure that we have this event. Small as it may be, it was deliberate. It's the first time, like Dr. Hove said, that we have made an effort to bring together a few of our stakeholders. But these are high impact stakeholders and representative of the diversity of the clients that we do serve. And I know that there are quite a few others that would want to join us in our next edition. So my task here is to give an overview of what has been happening over the past 3 days. And I can tell you that the organizing committee and the rest of the team at RPAZ, we are so glad that we are coming to the end of the conference. It is our inaugural conference, and we did not know what to expect. But our stakeholders have been amazing, and we want to thank you very much for that. The cancer burden is increasing. That's a fact. And I think each and every one of us has been affected or knows of someone who is very close that has been affected. And when you look at the current situation where the available treatment is so limited and so expensive, we need to ask ourselves if we cannot do better. And one way of doing better is prevention. This is where, as the Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe, we come in. Our mandate is to prevent the harmful effects of radiation to people and the environment, so that we reduce the contribution of radiation to cancer incidences. And we do hope that it may not be so apparent today, but we do hope that with the passage of time, the cancer incidences
get to be lowered to reflect on the impact of the regulation. The 3-day conference, like I said, has been oversubscribed. And we started off with official remarks from our chairperson, Dr. Anamene Nyakabau, who is also an oncologist and is in the daily managing the cancer burden. Our session 1 was looking at legislative and regulatory environment, which was ably chaired by Mr. Nelson Charumbira, who is our board member as well as Director of Legal Services in the Office of the President and Cabinet. And we had a presentation from Zambia. RPA Zimbabwe and RPA Zambia have got a bilateral agreement, information sharing, collaborating, and to open the conference was a presentation from Zambia, which set the tone and provided a baseline for assessing how well we are doing as a country. And both countries agreed that there's still a lot that needs to be done. We have not yet fully exhausted our potential to ensure that we are effectively protected. And we had as a highlight that the Radiation Protection Amendment Bill is among the bills that were highlighted by His Excellency the President of the Republic at the official opening of the Parliament in Mount Habden, that it will be presented to Parliament. It is our hope that the bill will further enhance protection. And Linda, when she opened, she was talking of microwaves. It's one of the commonest used radiation devices. But currently, our mandate only extends to non-ionizing radiation. So when the amendment bill is passed, it is going to extend the mandate of the authority to non-ionizing radiation. We're going to make sure that consumers are safe from the goods that they purchase that contain any form of radiation. The base stations are meeting the emission standards, because it has been seen that non-ionizing radiation cannot be neglected. It also has a certain level of contribution to the cancer incidences. And it's also going to enhance on collaborations. Currently, some of the efforts that we have been undertaking are voluntary, and the goodwill of the organizations. But the Act is going to make it mandatory, for instance, for ZIMRA to collaborate with RPAZ on import and export control. And many other stakeholders are listed there in the stakeholders that have got a responsibility for radiation protection. So we are quite excited and hopeful that this bill will pass shortly. We also had about how Zimbabwe is benefiting from the use of nuclear science and technology promoted by the International Atomic Energy Agency. As Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe, we are there to bridge the gap between the beneficial use of radiation and eliminating any adverse risks that may arise. I heard yesterday someone was asking if there are any technologies that could replace radiation technologies. And yes, you may have such, but you want to evaluate if they're going to be as effective. And we want to promote and enable business when they identify that radiation technologies are best suited for their businesses. They should not be afraid of using such technologies, because we'll be having a robust legal and regulatory framework that will ensure that the technologies are used in a safe and secure manner. So if you want any information, feel free, we can collaborate. And session 2 in the afternoon, we had parallel sessions, because we had industrial and we also had medical. I had an opportunity to be part of deliberations in the 2 sessions. And these sessions were chaired by stakeholders. The other one was Dr. Anton Jaya from Karo Resources, The other one was from Dr. Webster Kadzata, an oncologist. And there were very interesting discussions that came up there. As far as medical issues are concerned, the concern right now is the ability of public services to provide treatment. And it's everyone's hope that government expedites the procurement and commissioning of equipment for Parrenyatwa and Impilo, so that treatment can be extended to the rest of the patients. It was also appreciated the role that OncoCare is currently playing as the only provider of the service, but certainly due to the numbers, they are also overwhelmed. And the session bemoaned the current loss of talent as there is massive brain drain, especially of therapists and medical physicists, which is a great loss to the country after investing heavily in the education and training of such cadres. And recommendations are, if it is possible for government to find means and ways of prolonging the departure of those cadres, as well as seeking compensation from the developed countries that are getting these cadres by way of retraining, as well as incentives to keep the current cadres, so that we can effectively manage the burden that we have. On the industrial side, I was impressed that the representatives there now embrace their roles and responsibilities in as far as ensuring that the workplace is safe. We had presentations from Delta, Beverages, Zimbabwe Consolidated Diamond Mines, Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, as well as from the regulator. And the resolution is that we have to enhance efforts to ensure that the workplace is safe. Yesterday opened on a high note with the official opening by the Honorable Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Edgar Moyo, who highlighted government's efforts in ensuring that the public and the environment is protected. He highlighted the ongoing construction of the disused radioactive sources repository, which is meant to reduce the burden of managing disused sources from the facilities while they make plans for repatriation. And Honorable Minister reiterated government's commitment and the need for stakeholders to engage with government to ensure that we are effectively protected. And in the afternoon, we also had very interesting sessions on medical exposure as well as industrial exposure. The final details of the resolutions are going to be presented later on in the main plenary. We also had an exciting dinner event in the evening, which was at the request of the stakeholders. We were here, more people than we are now. And it was quite a jovial mood because we were certifying the inaugural advanced radiation officers that undertook training in 2022 and 2023. And for us, it's a reflection of the commitment by the various facilities to ensure that they attain knowledge to be able to effectively deal with the workplace hazard. And all the participants did well. But we were privileged to highlight a few that went over and above as a way of motivating others. So I can tell you that we had participants from ZCDC, the Zimbabwe Consolidated Diamond Company, International Organization for Migration, Radiology, Zimbabwe Platinum Mines, Zimplats, and the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, among those that were honored for excelling during this training. So we urge you as leaders at the workplace to support your radiation safety officers. A radiation safety officer is mandated under Section 16 of the current Act is the representative of the employer and the link between the employer and the authority. So when they come back, you also need to give them your full support, because the ultimate responsibility for radiation safety actually lies with the MD, the CEO of the facility. So if you have chosen a radiation protection officer, a radiation safety officer, you have to give them your utmost support and management commitment in terms of resources that are required to meet regulatory requirements. So this morning, we are continuing in the main plenary. We are going to be talking about technical services because the authority's role is to ensure that the right things are being done at the workplace. So there are various other players that can assist facilities to ensure that they meet the requirements. This is the topic for the day. Technical service organizations, education and training, we've got academia, we've got research, we've got private players who can assist you to ensure that you have got equipment that is appropriate, that meets the standard. You have employees that have got the required competence, and you are able to decommission safely. The burden that we have been managing as an authority because of the environment that we have in Zimbabwe, where there is not much technical service, we have had to do some of the tests for the service users. In more advanced countries, regulators simply have to verify documentation and do 1 or 2 confirmatory tests. But we have invested so heavily in technical equipment and capacity as an authority because no one has been available to assist. But I'm glad to say that we now have a couple of accredited service providers, mostly in medical, and we are hoping that in the near future we'll also have laboratories that will be coming up to assist industry. Along the conference, we were happy that we could collaborate with partners that came in to exhibit. So there is a room where there's exhibitions adjacent to the main plenary. We've got cancer awareness and advocacy groups there, and they are even offering screening. There was, on the first day, screening for prostate cancer. Yesterday, there was screening for breast cancer for free as a result of this collaboration. And if you heard Dr. Howe, he said, cancer can be what? Can be treated. But the key is early diagnosis. So we need to inculcate a culture of periodic screening so that if anything is wrong, it can be detected in the what? In the early stages, and it can be managed. So I want to thank you all for coming here, and hope that in future, when we call for such collaborations, you also honor us the way you have done it this year. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for RPAZ CEO, Mr. Chipuru, who was giving us a summary of what has been happening over the course of this conference that began on Wednesday and ends today. Now we are going to be getting into a question and answer session, and we have a roving mic. So kindly, I'm asking, you can just show by raise of hand, you introduce yourself, and then you can pose your question, be it around issues that have been raised during this breakfast meeting or otherwise. Maybe I'll just kickstart this session and ask the CEO, Mr. Chipuru. You did mention, and the minister mentioned, that there is a radiation protection amendment bill that we expect that will sail through or will be finalized in the current session of the 10th Parliament as set out in the legislative agenda by His Excellency the President. Will some of those or the proposed amendments to the Act ensure that RPAZ has a sufficient regulatory framework to carry out its mandate?
Thank you, Linda. Yes, the current act was promulgated in 2004, so it means that the process probably began before 2000. And Zimbabwe is a member of the Family of Nations. We are a member of the International Atomic Energy Agency, and there are standards that we set together with other member states, and these we call international basic safety standards. They have evolved over the past 20 years, such that some of the standards that we have are exhibiting a gap on our current legislation. So the amendment bill was crafted taking into account those deficiencies. And we hope that in its current state, it's going to go a very long way to ensure that Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe is going to have sufficient provisions to effectively regulate. We're going to extend the regulation to non-ionizing, as I've alluded to earlier. There are also going to be provisions to ensure that the radioactive sources that are in the facilities are kept secure in order to reduce access to any people that may have some malicious intent. We're going to have further provisions for emergency preparedness and response, and also further burden the users to ensure that their workers are adequately protected. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's have the questions. As Mr. Chipuru mentioned, gathered in here are high level or high impact stakeholders, the decision makers, the movers and the shakers as far as the issues under discussion are concerned. So let's have this question and answer session. And I will pose the next question just to warm up as you are getting your questions ready. This is for the ZIMRA Commissioner General, ma'am. In line with the Second Republic's mantra of Zimbabwe is open for business and promoting ease of doing business along that thrust. Mr. Chipuru mentioned that what we can also expect in this bill, if it sails through, is it will compel RPAZ and ZIMRA collaborative work around export and import control of radiation equipment and technologies. Is ZIMRA prepared to deal with that as far as ease of processes and systems at our ports of entry, or what does it mean around movement or facilitating the ease clearance of such technologies and stuff?
Thank you so much, moderator. I think ZIMRA in discharging its mandate has always been collaborating with various stakeholders. We are cognizant that we manage the import and export of goods, and these particular goods present different risks, and sometimes we don't have the technical skills to deal with that, and there are agencies that are mandated or they have the technical skills to then provide the necessary support. So in terms of collaboration, I think there is no challenge to that, and I think that mandatory collaboration would then bring about ease of doing business, because when you have agencies with standalone mandates, sometimes you then need to have that link to say, how best as government can we collaborate and ensure ease of doing business. So definitely a framework will be enhanced to ensure that we deliver and we improve on our turnaround times at the ports of entry. So I can assure you that as ZIMRA, we are part of government machinery, and as such, we have an obligation to ensure that we improve on our turnaround times, and we best do that in collaboration with other stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I think that has been well answered. Let's have more questions. We have a roving mic. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. My question is directed to Dr. Naik. I understand is the only, their institution is the only one that is offering radiotherapy. And my question to them is, are they affordable for their treatment? Are they within the reach of the ordinary citizen? Because government says, leave no one and no place behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Neki has just gone out. He's coming back, but I'm one of the incoming board members for OncoCare. Yes, as I've already said earlier on, our approach is to live life based on eternity, morality, accountability, and charity. So we understand technology costs money, and we must get that money back somehow. But in doing so, we must also pay attention to those less fortunate members of society. And I can attest you where I stand, there are about 19 selected across the country who are going cancer therapy at OncoCare without paying a cent. But obviously those who are able to do, they must come on board and make sure that the fees are paid so that we've got some amount of money put aside to cater for those who are unlikely to afford. Yes, there's an overburden today because it's the only functioning center in the Zimbabwe population of about 15 million. And as you have said to the chief executive and to the ZIMRA and to the secretary for the government, it is of paramount importance that we stand up together today and push our government to make sure that the cancer treatments to be done at Mpilo and the Harare and Paranato Hospital comes as soon as yesterday. And you are saying you are the leaders. You are unlikely to be affected by what the majority of our people are going through. So the reason why you are leaders is to look behind you, around you, and to see those who you are supposed to lead. And we are supposed to stand firm and say no cancer machine at Harare, hospital at Paranato at Mpilo, then things cannot be business as usual. And so anyone who has got a cancer burden right now can see me as we come out of here, and then I can arrange paperwork so that one of the patients that are unlikely to be treated can today, as a result of rappers call, can get treatment at OncoCare. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hove, for that response and for that gesture that you've just extended to the room. There is a hand there.
Thank you very much. My question that I would want to pose to all the members here, the captains of industry, is that it's in line with cancer treatment in the medical side, on the medical side. Indeed, on normal circumstances, I'm not supposed to be standing here when our incoming board member has already spoken. But in support of exactly what he has said. Okay, in line with exactly what he has said, for those who are having problem in terms of cancer or who have relatives suffering from cancer, the word going out there is that OncoCare is probably for the elite. That's not true. And Dr. Hove has actually clarified that. We are sitting at OncoCare, number 1 Wilma Avenue. We are actually doing what we call reducing whatever costs for ordinary Zimbabweans who come from anywhere in Zimbabwe for treatment at Onkokhe. Dr. Naik and Dr. Pakiri have actually given us the go-ahead to say there's no Zimbabwean who live Onkokhe without treatment, whether they've got the money or they do not have the money. But the only issue that I would want to request is, I'm happy that we've got the Commissioner General, Mr. Arach Namasa. Oh, Ms. Chinamasa, yes.
Yes.
Right. How can we get help and assistance in terms of making sure that when we are importing spares and equipment for medical, it comes in for free? We are talking about protecting the people of Zimbabwe. And the mandate for the government of Zimbabwe is to protect its citizens. We can't be sitting here discussing radiation without the equipment. And that's the equipment which we need to be serviced. We need to be having serviceable equipment. We need to be having up-to-date equipment. We don't need to be having equipment that is just imported and then it's lying out there without use. For both radiology and oncology, we are kindly requesting for ZIMRA through the relevant ministry to assist us. And the only regulating authority, which is RAPAS, can actually help us to ensure that equipment and spare parts are imported for free. How can we get assisted on that? I thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll allow the ZIMRA Commissioner General, Ms. Regina Chinamasa, to respond. And just a reminder to everyone who's talking to make sure that the microphone is...
It's Black Friday, 100% off.
Thank you once again for that question. In terms of policy, I think the ultimate authority is Minister of Finance. And I think currently we're in the budget cycle. I hope you address these issues. I think in the budget consultative engagements which were being conducted by Minister of Finance. But I think what we are sure of is, as we look at delivery of the NDS 1 and also looking at the SDGs delivery by 2030, I think the various stakeholders who are supporting the SDGs should look broadly and say how best can we achieve the SDGs in line with our national development strategy. And the budget stakeholder consultation presents that opportunity for the various stakeholders to then provide input. Because from a policy perspective, in as much as we are charging duty currently, there is also need to then ensure that there are considerations which are done if you're looking at the delivery of the other SDGs. And the fiscal policy makers, which is the Minister of Finance, will then look at it how best they can support the delivery of the SDG. If you're looking at health for all, you can either deliver it by removing the duties, or you can still charge duties and then there will be other compensatory instruments to support that. So my probably encouragement is to say, let's engage the policy makers, and when we are called for budget consultation, let's ensure that we have our business cases ready so that we then share with Minister of Finance as they consider. I'm not sure, because now the budget should be presented sometime this week. It might be a bit late, but I think for future purposes, let's do the necessary engagement in good time so that the necessary considerations are done by the policymakers. But in the meantime, ZIMRA will continue to expedite the movement of goods, the importation of goods, your spare parts, If you have any challenges, I think don't hesitate to contact us so that we ensure that our patients or the people, the society that requires the medical services are served in good time. We are here to serve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner General. Of course, the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion is expected to present the 2024 National Budget Statement on Thursday next week, if I'm not mistaken. So as the CG has rightfully said, we hope that, well, if you did make those submissions, we will see or hear some of the policy announcements that will be made. But thank you very much, ma'am. Let's take a few more questions before we call it a morning. And it's Black Friday. Everything is 100% off. Let's take another round of questions as we continue to engage during this breakfast meeting that has been made possible by Mr. Chipuru, who is CEO of RPAZ. I'm not sure if we have representatives from local authorities. I had a question to pose. As they've been mentioned so many times, there's issues around service delivery, and currently some parts of the country, especially Harare, is affected by cholera. I'm not sure in the matrix of radiation issues how that fits in, but I had a number of questions, but I'm not sure if we have any. Let's take another round of questions. Yes, thank you.
This time I'm asking the Chief Executive. Recently, we had, because of medical tourism, a few people moved to South Africa, to India for radiation treatment. And these were given radioisotopes. And as you appreciate, it's quite expensive when you are over there. After getting their doses, they were in the next flight back to Harare. In an emitting phase where gamma rays, X-rays are coming. They are very much in contact with some other people in the plane, and they're going to go home and they be with the family. How are you going to ensure safety of patients or of the people of Zimbabwe when people come in that type of state and they enter our airports? Can this be detected through the airport's point of entry, that whoever comes in is safe? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Howe, for highlighting that case, because it shows that we may not be safe at all. Perhaps Madam Akuvire is emitting right now. We would not know. If things were to be done in a professional manner, such patients cannot be released. We have regulations here in Zimbabwe that guides nuclear medicine procedures. And the practitioners know the levels at which such patients can be released. And just for your benefit, the non-medical colleagues, if someone is actually undergoing medical treatment with nuclear medicine, you cannot visit them because there will be a meeting. So, but as Doc said, we have this medical tourism, and they will release you because you're going to your country. My thoughts are with the frontline officers. Who are these? At the ports, we've got the aviation ACZ, Company of Zimbabwe officials that are interacting with the passengers. We've got port health officials, and we've got immigration, ZIMRA. You want to check what these people have, and this prolonged interaction with these people, and you are unnecessarily exposed. We have got a national detection strategy that is actually being finalized. And we have been pushing as the regulator to tell the frontline officers the need to develop detection capabilities. And I'm glad to say the gospel has been accepted. Zimra, Airports Company of Zimbabwe, ZRP, they are now in this subcommittee, and we have made budget submissions. I don't know if it's going to be funded, so that we can start with mobile detection equipment. And they have also developed draft protocols when the detection is made. You want to understand if it's medical exposure or it's illicit trafficking, and then it can be managed accordingly. So they are undergoing extensive training and awareness for these matters. That you have brought it out here now means that it is a reality. Because when we were talking about it, it was abstract. When we were talking about it, it was abstract. But you as a medical practitioner, you actually know that it is happening, because you can actually have this unprofessional conduct that is happening. But once we have all our detection capabilities at the ports, then we'll be able to detect any, whether it's innocent importation or it's illicit importation, it will be detected as soon as they cross those points. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I will take one last burning question, if there's any. One last burning question, if there's any. Before I invite Director Maida to give us our closing remarks, is there any one last burning question from the floor for any of our speakers or anybody in here? Any one last question? I was having a discussion with the CFO earlier on, and I was asking if the broadcasting sector falls under RPAZ, and he was saying that probably these are some of the things that we'll see. Dr. Pakiri was, emphasizing that radiology does not mean radios. And then as a radio practitioner, I'm thinking, so do we also fall under RPAZ? And you were saying these are some of the things that will be looked into. But it seems like we don't have any further questions. So please, sir, do come forward, and please put your hands together as he comes forward to give us our opening remarks.
As I was seated there, I was wondering if I can fit on the podium. So I think I can. This is what we were thinking as we were planning for the CEO breakfast meeting. We were also wondering if we can get one or two people, especially when we invite people whom we have never seen in person, and you only see them on TV and read them on newspaper. So, on behalf of Radiation Protection Authority of Zimbabwe, would like to extend our sincere gratitude to each of you attending this CEO breakfast meeting during our Radiation Safety Conference. Your presence, engagement at this gathering underscore the collective commitment to radiation safety across our respective facilities and our respective industry. I want to express my appreciation to distinguished captains of industry, as I have highlighted, to say some of you, we have never seen you, we have never met, we have only read about you, and today you are here discussing about radiation and also telling us the endeavors, the stages that you have done in order to comply and to use nuclear-based technology in the country. I was seated close to Mr. Gopoza from Windmill, the GM. First time sit close to a GM, general manager. And he was discussing efforts that they have done to improve the use of radiation or radiation protection at workplace. So on that regard, we would like to thank the industry, captains of industry, for being part of our radiation conference, for being part of our radiation protection journey. Thank you once again for your participation and unwavering commitment to advancing radiation safety in the country. We hope that as we go, as we depart from this gathering, we will continue sharing ideas, connections, and also talk about nuclear-based technology and their improvement or their use to improve our well-being as a society and as a country, and to demystify all radiation myths. Thank you.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the Director Regulatory Services at RPAZ, Mr. Innocent Maida. I think all has been said. My name is Linda Muriro, and it has been such a pleasure being in front of you and the host of this breakfast meeting that has been organized courtesy of RPAZ CEO, Mr. Chipuru. The conference continues downstairs and it ends today. Do make sure to network, exchange some contacts. I will be taking pictures with this power woman in here and some of the high-level people in here. Do make sure to get the picture on channel 294 on ZTN and follow all its platforms. I'm Linda Muriro. Have a pleasant day. Thank you.